We've all been there as gamers. That real bittersweet moment where we finally reach the end of our journey with a favourite video game and we finally unlock that platinum trophy. And then as we stand there, we realise we've become a living legend in this game and there's literally nothing else for us to do. And for me, it's a time of reflection. Was the platinum journey worth it? Or should I have just played it? Platted it? Or just downright avoided it? That one bullshit PlayStation Platinum unlock. So let's start by saying Ghost of Tsushima is an absolutely awesome and fun game to play, and it's actually quite a long one if you want to platinum it, as it probably took me around 40 hours, but after I completed the campaign I was only left with 2 trophies. So one of those was the bronze trophy, Honor the Unseen, which requires you to bow at 10 hidden altars throughout the game, and this was just one that I didn't really know what it was when I was playing it, because I was just playing the game naturally. First of all, just playing through, doing as many side missions and trying to liberate everything that I could because I was just enjoying it. So this one kind of flew under my radar. So basically, around the first 2 sections of the island, the middle and the bottom area, there are certain signposts that you might see that sort of show a man bowing. So if you stand by these and then swipe the touchpad down to bow, which again is something that I didn't really do when I was playing it because I always just swiped up to do the wind, really. But if you do swipe down and bow in these locations, certain things will happen. You might see a load of fireflies flying around you. Fish may suddenly jump out of the water if you're by the river, or other things might happen. And I kind of find it quite funny, really, because some of these signposts are actually by like the shrines where you pick up like the swords and scrolls, and there's also one by a fox den. So I would have actually ran here, but at the time I just paid no attention whatsoever to these little signs. So it's kind of cool in a way that these were there and they were kind of under your nose all this time. So thankfully there's only 10 of these to collect, and like I said, they only appear in the bottom and middle parts of the island. There's none actually in the top part at all, which is kind of strange. They're kind of easy to find if you've got a guide. They're not like awkward to get to. You can kind of fast travel to a location that's pretty much right by it, so they're kind of quick and easy to do if you've got a guide. Though obviously when I played without one I didn't get a single one, so they are quite tricky to see if you're just playing normally. I was kind of a little bit disappointed as well that they kind of repeated the animations of what would change in the environment, because they kind of do the fish jumping out of the water quite a lot. It would have been nice to have seen a few more. Maybe you could have had some foxes come over to you or something. But anyway, other than that, it's an okay trophy and it's not a hard one to go back and get. So the next trophy was the Cooper Clan cosplayer, and this one was a sort of multi-part trophy that I didn't realise I'd got the majority of as I was playing it. I did spot that I unlocked the Sly Tanuki sword kit because I thought that was awesome and I started to use that. But I didn't realise that you needed other bits to complete the outfit. So basically you have to complete the whole outfit, getting the sword, a helmet, which is just a headband in this case, a mask, and then the armour for your body, as well as getting the blue sort of dye for it. So some of these you just you can find. There's one, the sword kit was by a pillar in one of the regions, I think, a pillar of honour. One of them was on top of a Jakku temple in region 3. I think they find the mask from a gift altar. I'm sure I picked up that quite early on. The Ocean's Guardian blue dye that you need to get, you just buy that from a merchant, and that was one of the last things I needed, because I'd already had the I think it's Gasaku's armour, which you can get from one of the missions, the Unbreakable Gasaku. So once you get all those pieces and you equip them all at the same time, you will unlock that trophy, and that is what got me the Living Legend Platinum trophy. But what about the rest of the trophies the game had to offer? Were they fun to do? Were they easy? Were they too hard? Were they just really frustrating and obnoxious? Were they just bullshit? Was it just a massive grind to get them, or was it pretty easy and fun to do? Did it enhance the experience, or did it just take away from the overall experience of the game and just leave me hating the game by the time I unlocked that platinum? Well, let's find out, and we'll start by breaking down the trophies into different categories so I can more easily explain whether this platinum journey was worth it or not. So the first group of trophies I should talk about are the collectible ones, as Ghost of Tsushima's trophy list is very collectible heavy. It's kind of a collectathon game, as there are a lot of trophies for you to do with these in mind. So one of the ones that you'll get are these Mongol artifacts that you have to pick up off the floor, and you'll usually find these in the tents that are in enemy camps that you visit and have to liberate. These are actually a decent collectible to get because you only need to get 20 out of the 50 available, so it's quite easy for you to find 20 really without you actively gunning for them if you just loot every area. One of the more tricky ones was the records, as I just didn't seem to find as many of these. They weren't in a sort of reliable location every time like the Mongol ones were in the tents, so I had to eventually figure out that you could use the guiding wind in your options menu on the map to actually pinpoint a location of a record. So it would kind of act as like a GPS using the wind. You'd see where the wind was blowing and it would guide you to one of these records, and you could do that for every single record if you wanted to, but thankfully, like the Mongol ones, you only need to get around half of these. So these collectible trophies shouldn't give you too much trouble, and there's always an easy way for you to find them. For me, the best sort of collectible trophy in the game was the Favour of the Kami trophy, which required you to find and worship at all the Shinto shrines. And these were usually shrines that were on the top of like a cliff or something, and it was quite hard for you to actually get there. You couldn't get there from the direct path, as it was often crumbled or broken or obstructing you somehow, so you had to try and work out how you would climb around to them, and this led to some really fun and awesome climbing and platforming sections that also made great use of the grapple hook as you swung from tree branch to tree branch, or used it to climb up against the edge of a cliff to work your way around to the top of the shrine. I always enjoyed these sections because they offered about 5 to 10 minutes of just pure platforming fun that harkened back to the Sly Cooper and Infamous games and their climbing. There was also a bronze trophy called Light the Way for lighting the fires at the top of each lighthouse throughout the island, and I think there was 10 of these in total. Sometimes you'd have to kill the enemies nearby to be able to climb and light it. Other times you could just climb them and light it straight away. It was a fairly easy trophy, and the lighthouses themselves are pretty easy to spot, so it shouldn't give you too much trouble. But by far and away the biggest collectible trophy grind belongs to the Silver Trophy Body, Mind and Spirit, as this encompasses loads of different collectible types that are found on the map, and they are showcased by a question mark at first until you get close to them and discover what collectible type it is. And for this trophy you need to get all of every single different type, so it will take you a long time, and it's something that you'll be working towards throughout the entire of the game, and it occurs on all 3 sections of the island. So you can get the Pillars of Honour, which you will unlock a bronze trophy for finding your first one, Fox Dens, which require you to follow a fox, it leads you to a shrine. And like with all of these collectible types, once you find so many and reach a milestone, you'll be rewarded with an item. So for the foxes, you get a charm slot, which allows you to put a perk onto Jin to give you a new buff or ability perk. The Hot Springs is another of the collectible types that you can find, and these allow you to bathe in them to give you an increase in your maximum health. There are also these bamboo strike minigames that are kind of like a little quick time event that require you to press either the shoulder buttons or the face buttons in a specific combo quickly in order to chop through all of the bamboo that is stacked up for you. And these are quite frustrating as they get quite hard as you get further into the game, as it's a really tricky sort of combo of buttons to press. But if you do these, eventually you'll unlock more resolve slots, which allows you to heal more. The next collectible that we have to work towards for this trophy is the Hikaru sections of the game, where we'll find a meditation spot and you have to look out in the environment and pick one of the 3 button prompts available to compose a line of dialogue. And once you do this 3 times throughout each Hikaru, Jin will compose a sort of message to reflect on the story, and these just unlock various different cosmetic items really, and I didn't really use them that much. One of the problems I did have with the collectibles though for this trophy was that when I was trying to do them all before completing the story, I found that I was missing one hot springs health boost item, and I could not find this anywhere on the map. Even when I used the guided wind to specifically take me to this location, it would always go red and not have the wind blowing no matter what section of the map I was in. Eventually I just gave up and decided to progress through to the final mission, and it was here where I had to do another Hikaru meditation thing where I picked up certain lines of dialogue, and after I did this I actually unlocked the trophy, even though in game the trackers it said I needed a hot spring and not one of these, so I'm not really sure what happened there, but thankfully the trophy unlocked anyway, so I can't complain too much. I just think that was a bit weird. So there are also quite a few upgrade trophies that you'll have to get as you go through the game, usually revolving around Jin and his abilities, or his strength, or his reputation. So every time you're in a battle, you will earn XP as you finish it, and this will work your way towards a sort of skill point upgrade and a rank increase. So you start off as like a nobody basically, well the Lord, but like still a nobody really, and you have to work your way up to become the Ghost of Tsushima as your legend, and every time you go up in a legend rank you get a health increase, and you can increase this faster by doing like bonus objectives through the combat, so maybe using your bombs to kill enemies or getting bow headshots or something like that. So once you reach the top rank you'll get the trophy for it. You haven't really got to worry about this, especially if you're going for the platinum, because you'll just get that as you go along. There are also trophies that you do need to worry about in terms of upgrading Jin's sword, so you'll have to find the money and then items around the place, so you need to loot the areas you're in to pick up like iron, steel, gold, leather, things like that for you to buy these upgrades for your weapons. You also have to do it with a very specific set of armour, the Sakai clan armour, your own clan's, your father's armour basically. You need to upgrade that fully, and each time it will cost you more money and more resources, so you need to make sure that you upgrade that one, because none of the other armour types that you'll find have any sort of trophy requirement for them. So you want to save all your upgrade points and money and stuff for those armors and the sword, and then maybe work back on towards the bow and things like that, because I spent a lot of my money on other armor types that looked cool and didn't realize that there was trophies for that. There was also a trophy for buying a black and white dye from the various markets and using that on an item of your choice. There's also more upgrades in terms of stances that Jin can do. So you have 4 different stances that you use on the different types of enemies. So a heavy attack might have this heavy stance. The wind stance is used for like spear enemies and so on. So as you're fighting enemies, you'll find that most camps have a leader. So if you take out the leader, it'll give you one of the 4 required slots filled in order for you to get an upgrade, and once you do you'll unlock a new stance. So there's 4 in total, and each one has loads of upgrades, but for the trophy for learning all the stances you only need to actually unlock the base version of each stance. So this is again something that will just come naturally as you're playing through the game. You haven't really got to worry about this, as it's kind of, well, it's pretty much unmissable. So the ghost weapons are also upgrades that you'll naturally unlock as you go through the game through defeating enemies and building up your legend. After certain points you'll just be able to unlock a new weapon. So these can be things like the throwing knives, smoke bombs, wind chimes that you can throw to distract enemies, and like other different bomb types that you can get, which are pretty useful to be fair, but I mainly just use the knives, but you'll need to get all of them in order to get the trophy. The bronze trophy, a charming man, is unlocked for having the maximum amount of charm slots available and having an item equipped in each one. So these sort of give you a perk upgrade, sort of stat boost kind of thing. And these are the ones that are found when you get so many of the fox dens complete. So the aim is to basically have a perk equipped in all of the available slots, and then you unlock the trophy. There's another trophy related to finding a set of armour, the Gosaku armour, which will give you another trophy. So in terms of side missions, there are also quite a lot of trophies associated to these, as each of the main characters you journey with in the story also has their own set of trophies, some of which have like anywhere from like 3 to 9 missions apiece. So there's quite a lot of side missions there for you to complete, and you'll get a trophy from each of the main characters every time you complete all of their missions in their story arc. So Yuna's ones are quite cool. It's about getting revenge on someone who has wronged her in the past. You have the old lady who has a mission where she's lost her family and children. They've all been killed, and you sort of track her family's killer down throughout a series of missions, which is quite interesting, especially the twist towards the end. You get the Warrior Monk trophy for completing all of Noro's or something like that missions. And then perhaps my favourite one was probably the Archer in his sort of missions, as he acts as your sort of sensei. And in the beginning, he sort of teaches you about the bow and teaches you some moves you can do with the bow and things like that. And there's this whole storyline with him and his previous apprentice who sort of betrayed him, and you sort of on the trail of that person to try and catch up with them and kill them because they've sort of joined the Mongols. So each one of those main characters' side mission stories are actually all quite interesting and fun to do. None of them really felt like a slog to get through. All of the missions in each one was kind of interesting, and it kind of spurred you on to do the next one. And they sort of spread them out nicely across each of the 3 regions, so you couldn't just do a whole one straight away. You sort of did them as part of the main story as that went on. There's also one trophy from Yuna's missions that you can kind of miss, but you can come back to it. It happens right at the end of the mission. Once you complete it, you'll be at a grave site, and if you play the flute, a specific song on the flute, you will unlock a trophy for it. So, as well as those side missions, there are also various activities that you can do on the map. There's lots of areas marked in red that you need to liberate, because these are the ones that are under control of the Mongols. So these are like either like towns or basically fortified camps that the Mongols have set up, and you basically need to just go in there, kill everyone, and maybe free some of the hostages that have been captured. And as you're exploring the towns and the cities and just the fields in general around them, you might find some people have been captured on the roads, and if you free them from the Mongols who have captured them, they might give you a mission as well. So there's loads of little mini missions throughout there, and the main trophy for these sort of side mission activities is to liberate each area on each of the regions. So you'll get a couple of trophies for doing this. You'll get ones for liberating like 50% in each of the 3 regions, and then another trophy for liberating the total area of each region. So there's quite a few here to get with that. And if all of that wasn't enough, there are still some more side missions for you to do in the form of these special tales that you can take on if you find a man out in the open world who will tell you the story of a legend. And some of these were kind of annoying. I didn't particularly like all of these missions, to be honest, especially the ones where you had like a map or a hand-drawn image of a certain area in the open world, and you had to sort of follow this hand-drawn map and try and find where that location was. And I just felt that these were a bit annoying because there was no like waypoint. You had to rely on the map, and it was a bit awkward, and most of the time I just felt like I was aimlessly running around trying to find that particular area and hope that I could just progress the mission on more. I just felt like it wasted a lot of my time with those, and I didn't quite enjoy those missions as much as all of the other activities in the game. But thankfully there wasn't too many of those within those Tales missions, so the vast majority of them are perfectly fine. It was just, for me, those ones where you had to find an area using like basically a treasure map, I just felt like they were a bit too annoying, to be honest. But once you do all of them, you'll get a nice trophy for your efforts. Ghost also has a few random trophies, and one of those was for using the photo mode, which I felt was a bit annoying because the trophy description sort of makes out like you've adjusted the filters and changed the view or done something with photo mode before it will unlock. And unfortunately they put it on the right D-pad button, and at one point I accidentally pressed but then quickly pressed off of it and it unlocked the trophy. And I wanted to use that as my last trophy for the platinum picture, but unfortunately it just unlocks pretty much as soon as you go into that photo mode. There's also a trophy for receiving, I think it's 10 gifts, but I might be wrong there, which are items you can be awarded at a gift tree. So certain presents will give you like cosmetic items, maybe a new headband or some armor or a charm or something like that. And you sort of get these presents given to you after you do so many story missions and maybe leveling up your legend rank. And I kind of forgot all about these really, and it was only when I went to like one of the main hub areas for your town type thing, and I stumbled across a tree, and then there was just loads of presents stacked there. So it's just a bit of a really random one in my opinion, that. Combat trophies. So Ghost of Tsushima is very combat focused, so as you can imagine that is also reflected in a handful of the trophies for the game. One of those being for completing all of the duels, which are these really cool cinematic 1v1 battles against various characters, whether it be people from the story in sort of like a boss fight encounter, or several of these rodents that are roaming the environment waiting for you to stumble across them and duel them. And these are some of the coolest battles in the game because the environment that you're fighting in can be really unique, like this one with the thunderstorm. There's also ones where you're surrounded by loads of flying birds, or maybe you're in a field of like red flowers or things like that. So it's always really cool and cinematic, and the fights themselves are really well done, if a little easy, because it can become quite obvious when enemies are going to attack at times, and they don't have that many patterns for you to learn. There's also a couple of combat related trophies for doing things like perfect parrying an enemy, where you might block just as they're about to hit you and then you kill them, and there's a trophy for staggering like shield enemies and killing them while they're staggered. So there's quite a few different combat ones like that are fairly easy, and you should just naturally unlock those as you're going through, because you're bound to use those moves multiple times, and it's not like you have to do it hundreds of times either, so they're kind of easy trophies for you to get. However, one of the more annoying trophies was the silver trophy called Have a Nice Fall, as that required you to kill an enemy with full damage, so basically just knocking them off the edge of a cliff or something. And when I did this, I was using the shoulder barge, which was a new move I unlocked at the time, to sort of bash people over the edge because it sent them flying. But that's probably the most awkward way you could do this trophy, because it's really awkward to actually get this move to work, because it's mapped to circle, but circle is also your dodge move. So most of the time I was just running up to an enemy and dodging out the way. So the best way to do it is to wait until you've got the wind stance, which is the triangle stance, and then when you walk up to an enemy in, say, like a stealth mission, you just hold triangle to do a kick move, and that can just send them flying to their doom. And that is a much, much easier and less stressful way to do it, because there are plenty of stealth missions in the story that will have opportunities for you to do it. And also, another cool trophy with the combat was this one called Witness Protection, which means you have to strike fear into the enemy's eyes through doing some really cool kills with the standoffs, and that will sometimes scare enemies into running away, and the trophy pops if you can shoot that coward in the back with your arrow. There's also another cool trophy related to the Sakai clan armor, as that one has the ability to have 2 additional kills during a standoff, and the trophy requires you to kill the maximum amount of people in a standoff. So as you approach an enemy, you can either stealth them or you can call them out, and you get this little one-on-one face-off against an enemy. And if you can time it right to attack when they've attacked you, you can kill them instantly with one swipe of your sword, and you have to do this 5 times in a row. So every other standoff you'll do without this armor, you can only do a maximum of 3, because you need to upgrade it twice to get to 3. So you need to wear this armor to be able to get 5, and it can be quite tricky, but with a bit of practice and plenty of opportunities to do it, you'll easily get this bronze trophy. The final sort of combat trophy there is in this game relates to the ghost armor, which you get towards the end half of the game, as this gives you another new ability exclusive to this armor. So every time you get a kill while wearing this armor without getting hit, you'll get 1 point on your ghost meter basically, and if you can get, I think it's like 5 or or 7 kills in a row, something like that, without taking any damage. You will fill it up, and you'll get to activate this special move by pushing in the 2 analog sticks. When you do this, the screen goes black and white, and you basically terrify every enemy in the area, and you get about 3 kills where you can just kill an enemy, any enemy, even a big brute, with 1 swipe of the sword, and it's just really cool. And the aim of the trophy is to get, I think, 20 kills with this, but it's easily done over the rest of the game, and you can do it in the free roam after, so it's another easy trophy. Story progression trophies. So Ghost of Tsushima has a dozen or so trophies associated to the main campaign, the big meat and bones of the story of the game, and these trophies are pretty much all bronze trophies with just 1 gold trophy awarded for you reaching the dramatic conclusion of the game. So these trophies are pretty easy to unlock. You've just simply got to play through the main missions of the game. In total, for me, the game took me around 40 hours to completely platinum, and I was in the habit of exploring the whole map, doing all the side missions and gathering all the collectibles and everything that I could before doing the actual main missions. So I can't give you a good estimate of how long it would take you to just complete the story part of the game if you were to just blitz each main mission one after the other. While you could say I was over-leveled towards the latter half of the game due to all that exploring and gathering of all the items and resolve upgrades and health upgrades from the spas and things, I don't feel like it was ever at a point where it was just completely easy. I mean, the game isn't hard by any stretch of the imagination, and none of the missions really stuck out at being super frustrating and really hard. There was a couple that were like stealth based, where you couldn't raise an alarm or alert anyone, and they took a couple of attempts just to find the right path, but I was never stuck on anything for any long periods of time. So overall, the story itself is a fairly easy campaign that anyone should be able to get through with relative ease, to be fair. So there you go, that is my platinum journey for Ghost of Tsushima on PS4. As you can see, it's very much a collectible heavy platinum, requiring you to pretty much do everything in the game, from all the side missions to clearing out all of the camps and collecting all of the collectibles and activities scattered around the map. It's a big collectathon platinum that has no hard difficulty mode or anything, so should you play it, plat it, or just downright avoid it? Let's find out on that one bullshit platinum trophy unlocked. Of course it's plat it. There could be no other option really, as Ghost of Tsushima is an amazing game, and for me it's the best PS4 exclusive game of 2020, beating out by a country mile The Last of Us 2, as this is pure fun to play. And it's just a joy to experience. It's so much fun, and if you were a fan of Tenchu back in the day, then this will be right up your alley. Even though it's not technically ninjas, it's more samurai, it's still an amazingly fun game. Whether you want to just go in all guns blazing, or sneak around on rooftops and do it all stealthily, there's a play style for everyone here, and it's just really fun to do. The platinum journey itself, while really easy and very collectible heavy, it's still fun to do because most of the side activities are really engaging, fun to play, and it's just a cool game. So please, if you've got this game, do yourselves a favour and platinum this baby. Cheers, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time in the next episode of Should You Platinum.